What is the actual harm in someone not voting if they don't support any of the candidates? One reason is that you won't show up in the stats. Basically, no candidate makes policies targeting under 30s because they statistically will stay home. If they went to vote, even if it was to vote blank or write in Donald Duck, they would show up in them stats signaling they would vote, but none of the candidates appealed to them. As the song says, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Whether or not they support any of the candidates, one of them will still get in. It's about choosing the least bad. To use an analogy, you can pick the boss that whips you for not meeting your quota, or you can pick the boss that cuts off a limb for not meeting your quota. But unless you manage to escape, emigrate, you're going to be subject to one of the bosses. Saying you hate them both and refusing to vote simply lets others pick your boss for you. Okay, so there are 3 sandwich flavors available: ham sandwich, turkey sandwich, and dog shit sandwich. There are 10 people who have to vote on which flavor they want for lunch, and everyone has to eat the same flavor. Whichever flavor gets the most votes, all 10 have to eat that flavor. 3 people want ham, 3 people want turkey, and the other 4 want dog shit, not because they want dog shit, but because they are exclusively focused on make everyone else's lunch miserable. Since the 3 people that want turkey realize they aren't going to be able to eat turkey, they don't cast a vote at all, either out of protest or disinterest because they aren't getting 100 what they want. Since the final vote is 3 in favor of ham, and 4 in favor of dog shit, all 10 have to eat dog shit. So the harm in not voting because you're not getting 100 of everything you want in a candidate party is everyone eats shit. The harm is that even though you may not like either candidate, there's one that's objectively worse for the country, and through inaction, you help them win. I love that you asked this question. If more people voted, we wouldn't have such god-awful candidates running. They rely on the apathy and ignorance of the American people to get away with what they want to do, and who they do it for. If the majority of the public is like, why would they not continue to marginalize themselves from the lesser? We make ourselves powerless when we don't engage in politics. Trump is a direct result of the aforementioned. It was child's play to him, and that's how Trump got elected. He galvanized a forgotten population of America. A population that said, I don't like either, so what does it matter if I vote? Until they did like one over the other, and then their votes matter enough to win. We all have to care. There is a candidate that you like more, and if you don't vote for him, you make it easier for the candidate you like less to win. Which is a moral failing, because once the candidate wins, he can do a lot of stuff that will make many people's lives much worse. If there really is not a candidate that you like more, then you need to spend a little time reading the newspaper, because candidates are not the same. Most people here seem to be writing like this is about the US elections. I'd like to give a more real, general answer. 1. Politicians love it when people don't vote. It means they don't have to spend any time making things better for you. It's like, the silent wheel gets 0 oil. 2. Actually going to the ballots and turning in a blank vote is a string from of protest. It's an easy and clear way to send a message of, all of you suck, and you out better shape up. That they can disregard. Listen, I doubt you want to hear it, but there's a difference between legal and illegal abortion. There's a difference between taxing and not taxing the ultra-rich. There's a difference between trying to be a fascist and find fake ballots to win an election, versus not. These are not insignificant factors in America. They're not even comparable. The only issue is that Biden is also extremely old, but I wouldn't care if he died and they had a robot to replace him. The people around him who would play puppet master have been significantly better than Trump. It's clear as day. To me, just knowing that part of the Republican strategy is to convince you Democrats are just as bad, and to disgust enough people out of voting at all, and failing that, make it harder to vote such that only the diehard vote, paired with the knowledge that when more people vote Democrats tend to do better, is more than enough to pick Dems, not for the current candidate, but for the party at least until we can get ranked choice, so a vote for a third party isn't a throwaway. Plus, all the state and local and measures are important too and less heavily politicized. If you don't vote, even if you don't like either candidate, you can't complain about the elected. Keep in mind that elections usually have down-ballot candidates as well, all the way to the local level. Voting matters. Assuming you equally hate both, none. But if you hate one less than the other, you help allow the greater of two evils to prevail. It's more the idea that if you didn't exercise your right to vote, you shouldn't complain that the worst candidate won. I vote because of federal appointments. I might not like the candidate, but if they win they might appoint judges, Supreme Court justices, and federal administrators that are going to do things I like. Conversely, I want to prevent the appointment of people I do not like to those positions. People died for your right to vote. Choose the lesser of two evils if you must, but why live in a democracy if you aren't going to participate? One of the candidates will win, regardless of your lack of participation. So you have to weigh the potential harm of each candidate winning and decide which one is more survivable to you. If you're somehow convinced that neither is worse than the other, I guess it doesn't matter so much to you. People on Reddit like to be dismissive of voting for the lesser of two evils and harm reduction, but elections aren't for glorious battles of ideas where you proudly go forth and defend your ideology against the bad ideology. You're hiring someone to do a job. That's a vote for Trump. Is what I've been told. I don't give a fuck. I'm still not voting for either of these doofuses. Ask the Germans. Or the Americans post-2024. Fascism. Voter apathy is an active strategy by bad actors. They want voter suppression so they can act in self-interest without consequence. It's so much easier to convince someone that there are no good candidates than to prove yourself a good option. So bad actors just convince you everything is bad. By not voting, you're effectively telling the government they can do anything they want. Instead of, my best interests are X, you're saying, I'm happy with you taking everything from me. It's common for people to think abstaining somehow defeats the two-party system, but it actually feeds the more extreme worldviews. It's a bit of a downward spiral. More extremist politicians drives apathy up, which provides ample growth for more extreme politicians. At the absolute bare minimum, show up and mark your vote. It's still better if you vote. But it's better to show up and actively abstain than to just stay home.